Welcome to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Christi Hoffman. Each week we will discuss tools, tips, and ways to radiate your best life ever, interviewing practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
Hi, and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness Podcast. Today, we radiate trust with my new friend, Monique Glover, who is a psychic and energetic healer based in Canada and host of her Entrepreneurial Spirit podcast. Hello, Monique. It's good to see you again.
Hello, Christi. It's always a good excuse to get together and geek out and chat with you.
Yeah, we met kind of on a fluke. You were in touch with Steve Burgess, who was on my podcast, and he put you in touch with me. Small world. He's in the UK, you're in Canada, I'm in the US. So such a small world. So yeah, I've talked to you, twice now, and then emails, and
I think so.
Like a connection and a kindred spirit. So gotta love the internet, right?
Oh, I know. It's amazing. Just talking about synchronicities even happening more and more frequently, I think, with the internet and just that ease of connection. It's beautiful. And then you pop on a call and you just think, oh, I've known this person forever. This is amazing. And you're on the other side of the world or in another country. It's really cool.
It is really, really cool. And well, we're here to radiate trust today, and we've had some technical issues today. It's not been smooth sailing today. I mean, we can, say Mercury retrograde, whatever, but oh my gosh, this is take two this morning. This is take two today.
Yeah, right. As I praise technology for being so amazing for bringing people together, which it is, but then sometimes it's just a giant pain in the butt as well.
It is, but things happen like that, and I just trust that it works out. So I thought that, your suggestion to radiate trust today, I thought it was perfect because I said, we're trusting that all this stuff is going to work. All of it's going to work out, that I'm going to I was missing a power cable this morning and my computer was going to die. So just trust that I'm going to have time to do that. You trust that your microphone's going to work because your microphone didn't work earlier. And so we just, just leaving it up to let it go and let God, right? Let go and let God. Yeah. So you're in the psychic realm. You're in the energy healing realm. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, I am. I mean, officially on official business card, maybe about a month now.
What?
Yeah, like literally just kind of, I use the word free falling frequently for over the past month because it felt like I was jumping off of an airplane and talk about trusting that my parachute was going to open, that I was going to land safely. And I just, I went all in, like, no more waffling, no more hesitating, no more kind of like standing with 2 feet on either side of the door. It's like, nope, I'm going to go all in.
Leap of faith. Total leap of faith. So you've only been doing your podcast now for a month?
The podcast has been going on for 9 months now.
That's what I thought.
Yes. As my hosting provider they always send little updates of congratulations, you've reached this milestone. And the other day, I got a notification that it was nine months. And I thought, oh my goodness, because I couldn't even imagine 9 months ago doing a podcast because that thought literally terrified me.
Talk about trust and the trust factor. I had been wanting to do a podcast for a while, and I knew I just didn't have a lot of money to pay people to put it together for me. And I was trying to learn how to do it. I had somebody come over and show me a few things and tell me, recommend some things to buy and recommend some editing software, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it just was slogging through, and it just felt overwhelming because I've got, my own practice plus a group practice and just, my own slate of clients, et cetera. And I thought, this is a bigger undertaking than I thought, but I just still wanted to do this and bring it to the world. And then just all of a sudden, it's like the skies opened up and the resources came, the people came to put it together. It just, you just do have to take that, you've got to let go of the wing of the airplane and then just go, all right, something's going to catch me. I don't know what, I don't know when, hopefully before I hit the ground.
Yes.
Right?
Maybe a couple inches before that happens. That'd be great. Yeah, don't make it that close of a call, but
or not, and then somebody will scrape me up and put me back together. But it's going to happen, right? So, what were you doing before this 9-month milestone? Because you had a whole life before that.
Yes, and I've been in entrepreneurship for. Totally out on my own for probably a decade. I was freelancing for maybe 15 or so years. My background is as a graphic designer and marketing professional. So talk about having that shove out the door. It was probably, I'm judging timeline by the age of my children now. Or if I had children, right? Like, how old are they? When was that?
Everything's like BI or AI, before Iris and after Iris. Yeah.
I love it. It's true though, right? Because now you just lose track of time. And so what was it? About 8 years ago now, I was coming back from mat leave with my eldest in my so-called secure corporate position, as part of a global marketing team. We weren't even touched by the local kind of turmoil that was going on in the city that I lived in. You kind of felt untouchable. So here I was already really kind of losing that spark in my position, but I thought, I'm not going to lose this secure job. I just have a new baby. We were moving at the time cross country. That was a big leap. I was supposed to be switching offices, so it would be all seamless. And that morning my team was all across the globe. So all of a sudden my whole team just started to blink offline. Rumors were spreading around. They let go our whole global marketing team, global communications, everyone in, and kind of brought us into an office. We knew it was coming, let everyone go. And this was, I think, maybe T-minus a month to moving across country with our 9-month-old baby.
Wow.
And I remember being mad. I wasn't even upset. I was livid. I was so mad at them because they always preached these values of employee-owned company, that our employees are first, and just to kind of, get kicked out like that felt really personal, I guess.
Sure.
Right?
They could have told you before you planned to move across the continent.
Yes, right?
Right.
But we thought, know what? Just making that decision to move was a huge deal. So speaking of the trust, I just totally put trust in that nudge, in that vision. And we moved, and I started freelancing 100%. So start to open up my own business, took a whole bunch of different courses, and I've always been a multi-passionate person, and I can see the pieces, how they've all come together now. I didn't always embrace it. I always, in the past, I would have thought, oh my gosh, people are going to look at me and think I'm such a flake that I can't make up my mind of what I want to do. I took doula training and was working as a postpartum doula for a little bit while doing graphic design work.
Oh, wow. Now, but all that time you were also psychic and honing your psychic skills, right?
Yes. Well, unknown to me. I had always, and it's funny now that I talk about this move, I remember feeling this magnetic pull to where we live now. And I couldn't explain it, but I was tying myself back to kind of my own perceived obligations that I had in our old location. But I remember seeing clearly where my daughter would be and where we would live and, you know, everyone around us. And at the time, I didn't realize it as any psychic abilities until I learned more about it. I always thought I was, you know, always accused of being highly sensitive and looking too much, reading too much into things. And then COVID hit, as it did for a lot of people, and turned my, you know, I had my business going. I was working with great clients. And then lockdown happened and my kids were with me 24/7. And a lot of the big companies that I was working with did not have a marketing budget anymore when all their stores were closing. So that was really the point of what I call my spiritual awakening, when everything was just kind of, you know, the rug is pulled under you. Oh yeah. And you really have to do some soul searching.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, do I go back and get another corporate job? Do I pivot? What do I do? Right.
Yeah.
And just having that leap of faith moment, just saying it's now or never. And what kind of support did you get from your husband, from your friends and family?
Oh my gosh, my husband is amazing. He's my grounding rock. A lot of the times I say I can spend all my time up in spirit. I can just be in the spirit realm and I'm so happy just floating around there, and I need someone to pull me back down to this human experience in this body and give my grounding rock. And it's fun. And he's always been open to all of it. And he'll tell me, I have no idea how this all works, but it's really cool. And he's just kind of coming along for the ride and going down the rabbit hole with me.
Yeah. And so part of this journey, well, and bless his heart, he's out getting you a new microphone. That's
love. I know.
Right?
Please, something. Because it just died. I thought maybe it wasn't working, like you said, or technical difficulties, but it flat on just stopped working. So there you go.
Yeah,
running around getting me a mic. Yeah.
Yeah. For your next interview in like an hour from now. Right.
I'm so over to pick up my kitten that's like attacking me.
Oh my gosh. I was just
he makes an appearance again.
What's his name again?
His name is Milo.
Oh my gosh.
What are you doing? He's 5 months old and he's just like, I don't know. He's crazy. He has like some hit of testosterone running through him and he's bonkers. He's that adolescence, like we were talking about, the adolescence cat of no fear, all the rule breaking, right?
Pushing boundaries.
Yeah.
Testing waters.
Oh yeah, totally. And as we say that, I'm now going to keep talking and promptly remove him from my office.
Okay, well, I will take this moment to give a shout out to all of the pet owners who have little ones. I've got an 8-week-old kitten at home myself. He is so freaking cute, and I'm completely obsessed with him. But yeah, all animals do go through that teenage phase. Just like, well, your kids are kind of little still, maybe 8 years old, the oldest. You know, and I remember the teenage sass and the attitude starting around then. They still stay pretty sweet, but you know, I'm not going to lie, the teenage years are a little bit challenging for everyone who is dealing with them. So, anyway.
I feel. My youngest she just turned 4 and I swear she has like sass already. I don't know. Second child. She's like a fireball and I feel has so much to teach me.
They are huge mirrors, aren't they?
Oh, they are. I truly believe you have the children that you have for a reason.
The children you need.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now,
Oh, so that's kind of where, I mean, in the midst of COVID and everything being turned upside down, and I had a psychic reading at the time with the woman who would now become my mentor, and she offered a beginner's mentorship class to learn more about tuning into your intuition and your abilities and your psychic abilities. And I followed on with, we actually recently just celebrate our 1-year anniversary, a whole group of us that have started with her at the same time and went into mediumship and advanced. And we took some forensics classes with her as well too, which were fascinating. And then as we have a big shared interest, it kind of, I got taken into this world of past lives, and it's almost like this something ignited. And from then I've heard people talk about it as a quickening, that it's like the spark is lit and it's just boom, 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 down the path. But if a year ago you asked me if I would be doing this work, I would have never thought I would have been able to. I mean, mediumship scared the heck out of me. I did not want anything to do with mediumship. I kind of always looked over my shoulders in class, and it's funny how things can change in just a year.
It is. And when you start that quickening, of course, quickening being the term we used to use when we felt movement in the womb and a fetus was kind of waking up, it's just this kind of coming alive. And I think we talked about this when I was on your podcast of that. When we have that awakening, that quickening, it's like nothing is the same. And we feel or can feel tremendously off balance. Relationships have to change. The things that we once held dear, we just, kind of put them away like we would old toys when we get to teenage years. I kind of think of the famous poem by Emily Dickinson with the line, with the passion put to use in my lost saints, these things that we once held so dear that it's like, oh man, why did I used to be angry about that? Why did I used to be passionate about that? It doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
I used to be one of these people, and I'll still do it on occasion, but one of these people who turn out every weekend. We've got this big park where people protest and have rallies and things like that. And I was out there just angry and protesting and doing all these things. And then having this awakening, I'm like, that's not really how things work. If we truly look at it, and just, I don't know. It's just, everything shifted and changed. So I'll still stand out there with the sign every now and again when something's really inspiring. But, it's different.
It is. It's almost, I feel like I physically can't go on or see in the way that I used to. And not that it's bad, but it's things shift in a way that you can't go back, that you can't reverse it. And maybe that's what the fear is, because when you're on the cusp of that, you can feel that there's no going back once you go in a certain direction. But I don't want to go back either, right? There's that part of you, you're like, no, I don't want to go back to that. I love how my life has opened up, and my eyes have opened up to so many things.
And so today we're here talking about trust. And at some point in all of this, we have to just trust that we can't go back. We have to trust that the way we're going forward, even if we can't see the entire way, that's where we need to be going. And so how did you kind of navigate this trust factor? How did that make sense to you?
And I laugh because it was It wasn't something I was very good at. I think becoming a mother and going through pregnancy and childbirth was my first real initiation into truly trusting and letting go, because in that moment in time when you're birthing a baby, you can resist or you can trust and just let the process take you over. And the miracles that I had witnessed because of that were just truly amazing. But I remember seeing, I'm remembering now, a friend of mine, and she is an acupuncturist, and she'd put a point on my head, and the point had popped out of my head, and she was laughing about it. And I'm like, what is it? What does that point mean? I'm such an information seeker. Like, give me all the information. She's like, oh, that's just your trust in the universe point. And I laughed.
Like, so blocked that you couldn't like get a needle in there.
Yeah. And I was like, yeah. And I totally agreed. I'm like, no, I don't trust in the universe. I trust in me being able to control things. I call myself a recovering perfectionist, because look at the profession that I went in, where it's like minute details, which is a great asset to have, but it can also take you over in a way that's not healthy either, obsessing about all of these things.
Right.
So I don't know. I had to take little leaps and little nudges and kind of lean. It's almost like if I trusted once and nothing horrible happened, it's like, okay, then I can do that again. And still frequently to this day, I'll have discussions with my guide about, it's like, have these little nudges, like, oh, do this, this will be good. Like, this is the next step, do this way. And I'll be sitting here just arguing like the stubborn, almost toddler I am of no, that's cool. That sounds terrifying. No, let's not do that. And then eventually I'll come around quicker than I used to. And on the other side of it, it's amazing. It's beautiful. And you think, oh, why didn't I do that sooner? So I think I'm learning as you go, the little baby steps, right? You learn to fall into that more, especially when things are maybe hectic and crazy and aren't so sure. I find your trust gets really tested at those points. But honestly, just having the trust that there is something more in the world outside of me, that shifted my perception on so many things in the world.
Oh, yeah. Well, this whole question of trust and everything, I talk to people all the time because I also mentor and teach, developing intuition, developing psychic skills, et cetera, et cetera. And people are asking me all the time, it's like, well, I got this really clear message, but how can I trust it? I'm like, it was clear to you. It didn't come from you. Why would you not trust it? But no, I understand that. We want the proverbial two before. I don't know what you'd call it in Canada, this big board. You want this big thing to knock you upside the head. Yeah. And it's not always going to be like that. So, I have various things that I work with people on getting themselves to trust. But what do you find works for you? Where do you find that trust?
And I'm laughing about being like knocked upside the head, because I felt at the beginning when I started to tune and fine tune my psychic abilities, that's what I thought. I think we've watched so many movies that we have in our mind. Like I felt like this, this music would be playing in the background and, like my life's purpose would be revealed to me. And I would just be getting these clear messages. So trusting that it doesn't always, like you said, come like that. Actually, my realization is that most of it is very subtle.
Very subtle.
Very subtle. And it's learning to trust those subtleties and not second guess them or brush them off as coincidences. but in fact, synchronicities and things pushing you in the right direction.
Yeah. My advice is usually, is that information helpful?
Yes.
Is it positive? Is it uplifting? Is it not flattering? Flattering's manipulation, right? If it's all of those things, does it really matter where it comes from?
Yes.
We can trust that it's, our internal guidance, but does it matter if it's, seemingly your own voice or another's? But just if you can trust that information, and then also just that the intuition is like a muscle. The more you use it and the more you trust it, the better it gets and the more it grows. Why not trust it? Yeah.
I don't know if I missed your question, by the way. I'm thinking, did I answer your question or did I go off on
rambling? So how do you know? How do you trust? How do you trust the information that you get?
Well, like you said, honestly, practice. At first, I remember sitting in these groups and, oh my gosh, thank goodness for our amazing teacher, because she's the one that would, just tell us what is the first thing that comes to your mind, right? Like quick, don't second guess it. And at first, you're so embarrassed. You're like, oh, I don't want to go first. This seems so weird. What kind of weird information is this? And I found the more that you do it, the more that you just step out there and you're not filtering what you're getting. You're just purely channeling and you're writing it down, and you face that fear, I guess, of judging or being wrong. I think we have such a fear of being wrong, when also you have to take into consideration, well, yeah, you are in a human body. Yes, you are filtering. There's still things you're filtering through. It might not be wrong. It might be misinterpreted. It might be something yet to come. We always have to label it as like, oh no, I got that wrong because I didn't get every detail of this, instead of looking at the bigger picture and the bigger messaging, just like who the information is coming from. And I felt that way too. You want to know, I want to know the name of my guide. I want to know what they look like. I want to know this and this and this. And then at the end of the day, does it matter? Does it really matter? All those tiny details.
Right. Often our guides don't always have names anyway. They're just kind of like, well, if you have to call me something, call me Steve. Right?
Yeah, right. if you need to put a human label on it, right? Just hey. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So for me, it had been a lot of practice and a lot of feedback. And all of a sudden, when you start getting in that mode and you practice and you get that validation back to you, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, how did I know that? Because that wasn't me. So at least in psychic development, that has been something that has been amazing for me. And having a group of people, a network, a community that I have grown with and that we can trust, that no thing is too weird. No subject is too odd to broach.
There's something huge about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's you just have to go with that instinct and stop second guessing yourself. As soon as you start to turn on that analytical part of your brain and coming up with a story too, it's like, no, then you've gotten so far away from I think the true information that's coming through.
I think many people assume that trust is a very left-brained type of activity, perhaps because trust seems to convey like facts and figures and things like that. But I really think it's more of a right-brained thing. Something you can't really put a finger on why you trust. Like if you meet someone for the first time, why you would trust them, certain people, and why you would not trust other people, right? So it's kind of more of an intangible kind of thing. that we can all kind of hone and work on, you know.
I think so too. It doesn't have to be, I find kids, they're just very naturally, and kids and animals, they naturally embrace that. And then I find as we get older, you have all these layers of conditioning that for a lot of people warps how you trust and who you trust. But almost if you can get back to that place where you're just accepting it for what it is and you're not trying to analyze every detail. I absolutely agree with you. I find that when you turn on that left brain thinking, it dilutes the trust. That the trust is a feeling. It's just that people talk about that gut instinct. It's that knowing. You just know, and you don't need to logically, scientifically explain it or prove it to anyone.
Yes, I think that's it, because a lot of the people who come to me with questions of trust, how can I trust my guidance? How can I trust this information I'm receiving? They're not, it's like, God, I totally lost my train of thought, but it's like they don't trust themselves in a way, right? Don't trust necessarily themselves. That even a feeling of, I think you had even mentioned it earlier, it's like, how can I do that? Who am I to do something like this? I don't know, totally rambling at this point, but, I'm reminded of a conversation I had with a coaching client where she was talking about some information that she had received, and she said, how do I know the difference between my own mind thinking these things and guidance? And I said, well, first, you don't. Second, you just have to trust that if it's good and helpful and serves its purpose, does it matter where it's coming from? And kind of getting to that place where we're just like the free fall that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And then she came up with this analogy that I thought was beautiful. Like in Downton Abbey, I don't know if you ever watched Downton Abbey. I loved that show. It was so addicting. And so you had this way of life that were these rich people in a manor house. The town grew up around the manor house to basically serve all of the needs, grow the produce, have the shops that fix things, have the shops that provide things, have the people to supply servants. And so this like basic ecosystem that grew up around this family. And this client, she said, that's kind of how we might see our guides, that they're an ecosystem that have sprouted up to help us in our mission. In Downton Abbey, if the family wasn't there in this manor house to keep this village going, and in that time, it's a different time now, but at that time gave purpose to the people who were living in the village and gave them, clients and customers for their goods and trade. But, we can see that our guides are we have a whole spiritual team that's like an ecosystem to help prop us up and support us, right? Yeah. And it serves their mission too, because it helps them advance. Anyway, I don't know. Does that even make any sense?
Oh, it totally does. It's really amazing just to see how it all cycles. Like you said, it's one is helping the other and the other is helping the other. And it's really, really beautiful community in that way, spiritual community.
Yeah. So rather than seeing that I am the separate person, who am I to be able to receive guidance from my ecosystem, from my team?
Yes.
Shout out to Becky for that concept, because I think it's beautiful. But who am I to give this shout out and to be able to receive this information from my team, versus I am part of the team. I am an essential part of this team, and we are the ecosystem together.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, you're just the one down here on Earth with the human Earth mission, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you know that Radiate Wellness is more than just a podcast? That's right. We're also a comprehensive, holistic wellness practice. Find out about our services, practitioners, and upcoming events at radiatewellnesscommunity.com. While you're there, visit our podcast page to read more about our great guests and even donate to the podcast. If you like our podcast, you can help in other ways as well, like subscribe or follow us wherever you're listening right now. Tell a friend, a family member, or a coworker about the great content you find here. And if you wouldn't mind, please give us a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, or a positive review. Sounds like a small thing, but it really helps. You might like to know about our Facebook communities while we're at it. We have a free community, the Radiate Wellness Community, on Facebook for news and great free content. Our subscribers group is Radiate You, as in the letter U, but also, well, you. There you'll find curated replays of past classes, guest interviews, and more. And now, back to our podcast and back to our guest.
Yeah. It's like you have your whole network of people and everyone is doing their own thing. I had a really similar experience in a group that I was with, and I had mentioned, I think earlier, there's a few of us taking a forensic oracle class. So we concentrated on forensics in the psychic and mediumship realm. And, you know, we can be so hard on ourselves that I remember one girl in the group, she's like, I never get names. Why can't I get names? She wanted to get names of people and she wanted to get it accurate. And we looked at her like, oh my gosh, like, look at all the other things you are bringing that we would love. Like, this is amazing what you're bringing. And this person would have this talent and this would have this talent. And all together as this network, it's like you have this amazing superpower that everyone has their special traits, the things that they're really good at. But alone, it wouldn't be as powerful as working together as a team. So it didn't matter. It didn't matter if you can't do this or that. You don't have to do it all. And I feel like in this spiritual ecosystem, it's not all on you to do the one thing, that you're doing this part, they're doing this part, this person's doing this part, and you're stronger together for that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Each person bringing in their own, well, not even people, each being bringing in their own expertise, their own input into it, right? Because we're better. Yeah. We're together, we're better. We're stronger with each other, you know, all of these.
Yeah. Yes. All the things that we've heard for how many.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Come to find out all that's true. Right.
Yes.
So I want to pivot a little bit, Monique. I want to pivot to your energetic healing. Can you talk about, you know, this is your +1 psychic plus energetic healer, your little +1 here, but not so little. But so what does that mean to you? Like, what kind of healing do you embody? What do you do? What you got?
Yeah. And talking about like that. Who am I to call myself this or that?
Yeah.
That piece took a little bit of work too. And it was a total activity of trust. So it's something that came along when I fell into past life work that I swear I literally had Brian Weiss's Many Lives, Many Masters book handed to me. And I devoured this thing. Like, I don't know. I was so ravenous for there was something here. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn more. And throughout the process of kind of me exploring this and working with past life therapist and my daughter as well, things came up with my daughter, my eldest, because she's a very she's a very old soul, had some things that seemed to me not this lifetime, like old, kind of stagnant of fears. And I remember I was in the bath one night and I was just, in my zone and meditating. And all of a sudden my guide popped in and started showing me this one specific fear, 3 lives consecutively, back to back to back for her, of where these were stemming from. And all of a sudden I was guided to, hold certain parts of my body. We were kind of cutting energetic ties and just bringing awareness to the story. That's something that I've really learned along the way too, how much stories can heal as well. And I had this moment of, oh my gosh, what did we just do? Like, I didn't take a course on this. I didn't read a book on this. Just fully trusting that, okay, my team in spirit can show me these things too. I don't have to be a certified yada, yada, yada to do it. And from there, I'd practiced with other classmates and we went through and did different types of healing, whatever I was guided to do. And that took a lot of trust, because I'm like, well, what if nothing comes? What if the clairvoyance doesn't come? What if there's no guidance on what to do? What if I don't feel things in my body like I did with my daughter? But they always did, but they always came. And there was always a story attached to it. And like you and I have talked about before, when you're in your mode and you're just channeling, it's like, blah, right? Da, 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 and it all comes out. And it was the first time that I had taken something purely that my spirit team had showed me and had used it in real life. And it wasn't, I love learning new things. And I feel like I have so many different degrees and pieces of paper. And I feel that's part of my journey, is that I needed that validation. And this was the first time that I could just do something without that piece of paper and see it play out in real time and get feedback from people, how much it helped them. And I was just kind of dumbstruck of, wow, that was amazing. That really worked. I don't even know what I was doing, because I was just purely in trust and purely in the flow and honestly just bringing the messages. It's like, I feel like I was just the middle person, that I'm not doing the healing. I don't have any magical powers. I'm just facilitating, opening that door for our guides to do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big jump for me, because I thought before I'd had to be, certified this and that. And I had taken some Reiki courses and thought like, okay, if I'm going to call myself this, I need to have this piece of paper, this diploma that says I can do energetic healing. And it had all come very naturally.
Sure. Well, you did have some training behind it. So you knew the concepts of energy, how it flows, how it works, how blockages are created, where they come from, how best ways to clear them, et cetera, et cetera. So, I don't ever discount training. I think we can all learn from everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that even, and I'm a Reiki master. I don't know what level you are. But there are things that I bring to my Reiki sessions that other Reiki masters do not bring. So I have my own wave, and I call it something very different. It's just medical intuitive Reiki. And so everybody does bring something a bit to it. So I think that all healing is self-healing in a way. I believe that all healing is faith healing in a way. If you believe in something that it's going to work, then it's going to work for you. But you also have to internalize that. So like you said, it's like we're just the conduits. We're the middle people. Yeah. But each client has to do their own healing along with it too, right? So we talked about ecosystem. So, in healing, the healer and the client, or the energy facilitator, whatever we call ourselves. I know a lot of people who say, I'm not a healer. I'm the client that does their own healing, or it comes through me, but I'm not, right? So whatever we call ourselves, along with the client and the people we're working with, it's another ecosystem there that it's, anyway, we're all bringing our own stuff into it anyway.
Right? Yeah. And just completely trusting what you're bringing is that it's valuable, not second guessing of, like you had said, I really struggled with that who am I statement for a long time. And I mean, it still pops up of who am I to be doing this and that. And you play this comparison game. Well, look at this person that has, 20 years experience and who does this and da, 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 da. And you can get caught in that who am I trap. And I remember one day I flipped it around and it's like, who am I to not bring this into the world? That I remember getting information, speaking about information and guidance from your guides. And it was so clear. It's not about you. It's about the work. And it was kind of like a slap to the face because, we all like it to be all about us all the time. Yeah. But it's like I got so bogged down and, well, what is everyone going to think? Like, who am I? Blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, it's not. It's not about you. It's about just bigger picture that it's like either you're going to jump in and you're going to do it or you're not, but just do it. Yeah. That like loving nudge you need sometimes, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're not going to, like, stop holding back from what people and what the world need right now.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's funny how much trust has come up in this conversation.
Oh, it's been pivotal to everything that I do, that even the way that I do business now. And I mean, the women that I talk about or talk to on my podcast, like you, and that we're not discounting the business school aspect of it, the structure of it, that's obviously very important, but there's a whole other side that's, I find, I don't know, it hasn't been given importance. It's kind of been like woo-woo, whatever, female feeling. And over the years, it's been kind of brushed aside, especially in the big corporate world. And the more people you talk to that are really harnessing that power of intuition, it's really creating a lot more flow in their business versus resistance of, well, I need to do this because this person who's the expert says, I need this and I need this funnel and this email list and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just going to like beat this thing to death because this is what the marketing person said to do. It doesn't feel right.
Exactly. Steve Jobs, in fact, we're talking about, industry and business and big business. Steve Jobs said that intuition is more powerful than intellect. That trusted his intuition just expressly. Bill Gates credits intuition for his success. Warren Buffett, Henry Ford credited his intuition. So these titans of business and industry all know that the place, but it's not taught.
No.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
It's not taught in business school. It's not, there's no intuition in business course. It's definitely something learned down the road. Yeah.
It is. Kind of wish it were, maybe with all of the emphasis on the divine feminine coming out right now, that's more embraced. But let's pivot a little bit to, and I know we're getting close to time, but your podcast, Her Entrepreneurial Spirit.
Yes.
Okay. So why did you want to do an entrepreneurial podcast? What's it about?
And so speaking of just trusting that things are coming in for a reason, I remember we're talking about me doing doula work for a while. And for a bit, one side I was working with mostly female business owners, and I was helping women after they had babies. And at first it didn't make sense at all. And then it kind of all reached this point where I had this aha moment of, that's where my passion lies, is working with women and kind of opening up this vulnerable space. And I remember I had a friend, she had just started her own podcast, and we were chatting one day, and she's like, you know what? I feel like you're going to have a podcast. And this was maybe about a year ago. And I just laughed at her. Like, yeah, you're crazy. Because I don't know, the thought of speaking into a mic and listening to my voice. I hated my voice. I thought I sounded like a child. Like, no, that seemed horribly vulnerable and not fun. I'm cool. Well, sure enough, 3 months later, I felt this nudge, and I'm like, I'm going to do this. And I wanted to talk to entrepreneurial women that were harnessing that spirituality and intuition and trust. And they were building these purpose-driven businesses. And this idea just all came rushing to me. I bought a mic. I started sitting there talking in front of the mic, talking about blocks and chakras, my poor throat chakra. Like, my voice was cracking. I was burping, like just everything coming out of my throat. That from that time, I'd done a lot of work on speaking my truth, had come out as a result for it. And I think there was a deep rooted fear there for me about even getting on a podcast and talking about these things. But then it just evolved. I had a group of people that right away I knew I wanted to chat to, and I wanted it to be a space for intimate, unscripted conversations. And I had a friend tell me, she's like, you know what? I just listened to your latest episode, and I felt like I was sitting in a coffee shop and I was listening to two friends speak. And that touched me so deeply. And I thought from that moment on, yes, that's what I want. I want this safe space that we can get vulnerable. We can talk about all of these things, and for other female business owners to know that they're not alone in this. They're not crazy for wanting to do business in a different way. And that's where it very organically evolved on its own. I mean, when I briefly met you on email, I had this nudge of, I want to interview her. I want to talk to Christi. And then, the fear comes in. It's like, I can't just randomly ask someone that I don't know to do this. And, you have this war in your head, like, yeah, you can. So just do it. And I mean, look at the connections that have come from that. So it's really, it's been two-sided. It's kind of bringing this space for women to share their stories. And it has also been very healing for me as well.
Oh, really? How so?
Yes. Oh, just being able, I mean, even to know that, oh my gosh, my neighbors know about this. My kids' friends' parents know about this now. Like my thoughts and opinions are out there for the world to listen to. That really brought a lot of deep healing for me about how I want to use my voice and just having my voice visible in the world. Mm-hmm. And talking about past lives. I mean, there was a lot of past life work around that too. And that has been some of the most profound healing. And I would say a decade of trying being curious about so many different healing modalities, that has been life altering and changing for me.
Yeah, it's amazing when we put this stuff out there. We're so afraid that, People are going to think I'm weird. They're going to think I'm crazy, or just going to hate me because I think about these things and I believe these things. But it's a lot more widespread than you would think. This woo-woo life, it's a lot more accessible and permeated than we think it is. It's amazing. And so, putting yourself out there. What do your kids think about what you do?
Oh my gosh. Well, they're the kids that fight over my sage because they're like, no, I want to run around the house with with the sage stick. This is how it goes down in my house.
Yeah.
Oh, especially my eldest. She's so fascinated with it. Like I've mentioned, she's done past life work. She talks about her guide like she's her friend. It amazes me sometimes. I'm honestly jealous of how clear her connection is. She's like, oh yeah, just give me a second. She comes back with these amazing images and stories. And like, where is this coming from? So she always wanted to work with Daddy when she was younger. She thought Daddy was the cool person to work with. And now she wants to work with Mommy because she's like, Mommy, you talk to souls and angels all day. That sounds really cool. That's where I want to be. But they're just so naturally inclined to embracing that part of them. Yeah, it feels really great to be able to give them that space to embrace that and explore that as well too. And that it's safe to explore that. It's not like, okay, well, now you're almost 8. It's time to shut that off, right?
Right. Can you imagine how your life would be different if you had been brought up that way?
Oh, I know. So so many different things that would change. Yes.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have had like crazy anxiety that, really kind of peaked in adolescence because I was suppressing so much of it. It's almost like you're taught to put a lid on it, right? And you can only do that for so long before it all comes bubbling out.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. I talk to parents all the time. They're talking about their kids or seeing things, experiencing things, feeling things, et cetera, et cetera. And it is so important for us parents to encourage that growth, not to try to control the growth, not try to direct it or anything like that, but just to encourage it. Because we can shut that down if we want to, if we're afraid or other people are afraid or we're told that it's bad or wrong or any of the above, we can shut it down. But like you said, that it's got to go somewhere. It's going to bubble out somewhere and it's going to come out in anxiety and depression and all types of neuroses. It's going to come out in some way. So it's best just to embrace it because it's a natural part of who we are. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. And so it's very natural and normal. So we should be encouraging it. So
amazing how natural and normal it is for them too. It's like they don't have to. They don't have that part of their brain that's telling them, no, you shouldn't talk about that. Oh, that's weird. Oh, people are going to judge you. It's just such at face value. Like, oh, this is what happened. Oh, my God came and visited me and this is what she told me, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Please tell me more.
Exactly.
It's really beautiful. Yeah.
It's beautiful. And it's natural and just helping them understand how to use those type of things in life. It's like, you can manage your own energy. Yeah, you can clear your own space. Yeah, you can, work on healing yourself and hopefully others. It's like, it's not just a cool parlor trick. You use this for your good,
Oh, it's so empowering that I wish someone told me that I have control of my energy and what comes in and all the years that I was carrying everyone else's baggage that I thought was mine. It's like, oh my goodness, I wish that I had learned, if I'd learned that sooner, it would have been, I mean, it's empowering now, but I think like, oh, early on, it's like, okay, yeah, you don't feel right or you feel antsy. And like, you know, you were just at a friend, you were at school all day, you were picking up all this stuff, especially in this current day and age and climate. It's like, yeah, you can clear that. And watching how quickly it happens for them as well too, that they don't have all those layers that adults do.
Oh my gosh, right. The layers of, am I doing this right? What should I be doing instead? Did I do it wrong?
Yeah.
How is this working? You know, all of these things that adults ask.
Yes.
And, they know that it works, and that's all they need to know.
Yep. It's that trust, right? It's going right back to just that unshakable trust of they're doing it. They feel great. Awesome. That they don't need to dig in deeper of the mechanics of how is it working? Why is it working? Like, it's just working. And I have a hard time about that. I mean, I want to geek out. I want to find out all the things. And a lot of times I have to rein myself back and like, it just is working. It doesn't matter why or how, it just is. And just really trusting that.
Yes, trust and allow. Just let it work. Let it happen.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so Monique, is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think is like really, really important, or anything I haven't asked that you just want to mention or bring up?
I don't know. I feel like we've covered like the whole gamut of of everything. Anything that I wanted to touch on particularly about trust and radiating trust and my experience.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think honestly, you just have to start. You just have to start somewhere, and you just have to start small and just trust the little things. And then you'll have this beautiful kind of cascading effect that once you allow a little bit into your life, more and more will come. And the beautiful thing that comes out of trust is flow, that you realize you're not at it alone, and that there is this beautiful team helping you out. And almost by falling into trust, you fall into flow, and things just come with more ease and grace. That's not to say that things don't happen. I mean, we were talking about this morning already. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I should just go find a normal job. Like, being an entrepreneur is so hard. Like, yeah, everyone has those moments, and no one is perfect. And if they say they are, it's all a lie. It's not. Everyone has those doubts. But I find the more you trust, the more into flow you get. And it's so much easier than resisting and fighting all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes we just have to drop the oars.
Yeah.
Although, you know, there's a lot of folks who say you just go with the flow. But then again, I kind of like to take the flow, kind of like in whichever martial art that is, where you take the opponent's energy and like use it for your benefit, right? So just kind of I like to take the flow of the river and use that energy to create, rather than just completely drop. But that's just me too, right?
Oh, well, I love that, because you can't just sit there on your couch and like, okay, I'm waiting for life to happen. Like, no, you still need to take action on these things, but you accept that you're not the all-knowing person, that you don't have to control every moment. You can let the inspiration come to you, and then take that aligned action instead of like blind action of just, well, I feel like I need to do something, so I'm just going to do anything.
Exactly. Well, and Monique, you can help with psychic alignment reading, psychic readings, and helping people get on their path, on their track, with past life readings, with business mentoring. Yeah, and you even have special events for classes and such, and workshops. So how can people contact you if they want to get in touch?
Oh, I love it. And it's always evolving. That's something else that I trust, that maybe if I come talk to you in another year or two from now, that there's going to be a whole slew of other offerings and maybe different titles, and that it's an evolution process. We can trust that it doesn't have to stay the same.
Exactly.
So thank goodness for websites that aren't printed in stone and you can change.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if somebody wanted to work with you, how would they get in touch?
So you can go find everything that's current on my website. It's at moniqueglover.com. I have all my current offerings there. I have all the information on Her Entrepreneurial Spirit podcast, which you can listen to wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can find me on Instagram. That's kind of my favorite little corner of the social media realm to be on. And that's at Monique Glover Creative.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, your website is beautiful, by the way. I'm sure you did it. I'm sure you worked on it.
Thank you. Yeah. Those are all the skills coming into play to help you along your journey, right? Yeah, totally. That's definitely a perk, that as my offerings change, I can change my website on my own.
That's really nice. Well, I mean, once again, I've had such a nice time talking with you, Monique. I just feel like we're so much on the same page, on the same wavelength, and in the same world. So appreciate your time.
Thank you. You too. And thank you for pushing me a little bit out of my boundary of I've been so used to being the host now that it's really nice to be on the other side. And that honestly made me a little bit nervous. I'm like, oh, the spotlight's going to be all on me. And it's really nice to have that opportunity to be pushed out of your comfort zone a little bit, right? And trust that it's all going to work out okay. And I'm going to know what to say.
Exactly. Well, I have to say there is something to that because, of course, I was on your podcast. I thought, I'm an old hat at this. I have a degree in theater. I've got my own podcast I've been doing for 3 years. I'm just such a natural at this. I get on your podcast and I'm like, blah, 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 vomit dump. Next question. Blah, 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 vomit dump. And it was just...
It's good. It's working all of those muscles, right? And
right.
Really like, okay, this is all meant to, whatever comes out is meant to be shared in the world, and trusting that someone needs to hear this right now. Yeah.
Trust. I love it.
Yeah.
Radiate Wellness is a community of holistic and alternative healers and consultants based in the Kansas City area, dedicated to helping you create spiritual, energetic, and physical well-being. To learn more about our practitioners, services, classes, and events, or to schedule an appointment, visit us at radiatewellnesscommunity.com.